The following is a tragic story of a man who lost his life to an alligator attack while searching for frisbees to sell in Taylor Lake, Florida. This is the harrowing account of Sean McGinnis' encounter with the predator. Can you survive an encounter with deadly predators? On May 31st, 2022, Sean, a 47-year-old homeless man, jumped into the water near a disc golf club at the lake in Largo, Florida, in search of lost frisbees to sell. Sean had been making a living by retrieving discs and reselling them to players at the park. For the past 8 years, he had been living in a friend's basement, but due to conflicts with his roommate's family, he was asked to find a steady job and move out by January. Under immense pressure and dire circumstances, Sean took the risk of venturing deeper into the lake in search of lost discs. He had been successful in avoiding authorities thus far by going into the water at night when the park was closed. Sean's friend revealed that he was aware of the no swimming signs posted near the lake's shore, but showed little concern for the warning, focusing solely on his immediate financial needs. Additionally, Sean was in declining health and had been diagnosed with a malignant tumor that he knew would shorten his life. Little did Sean know, the lake was home to hundreds of American alligators, lurking in the deeper waters, seldom surfacing or making enough noise to alert anyone of their presence. These marine reptiles are the apex predators of Florida's waters. It was around 4 a.m. on that fateful Tuesday morning when Sean dipped his toes into the frigid water and began to make his way further into the lake, oblivious to the lurking danger. The lake appeared shallow near the shore, but it dropped significantly just a few feet out as Sean flailed his arms beneath the water, hoping to find a lost disc to sell. The darkness and silence around him only added to his unease. Although he had done this several times before, the vast expanse of deep water at midnight still sent shivers down his spine. In the distance, several kilometers away, the city lights illuminated the horizon, and the park was expected to remain deserted until it opened at 9 in the morning. Sean's search yielded his first disc just a few feet deep in the water, but it was damaged and worth only a few dollars. He tossed it to the shore and resumed his search. However, he soon realized that he had exhausted what he could find in the shallow waters and needed to venture further into the lake. Within minutes, he found himself chest deep in the water. Desperation and the urgency of time before daylight forced Sean to venture deeper into the lake than he had ever been before, unaware of the deadly trap he was walking into. At around 4:30 in the morning, he heard a faint splash in the distance. In the dark, silent night in the middle of the water, he was startled to hear a sound that wasn't his own. He peered into the distance, anticipating a guard or park ranger, but the sound came again, much closer and right in front of him. It was then that he noticed a pair of glowing eyes surfacing from the water, staring back at him. Finally realizing the danger he was in, a shiver of terror ran down his spine. Trapped in the middle of the lake, helpless and alone, Sean screamed for help, but the shore was still several meters away, and he was defenseless on the alligator's turf. As the first alligator continued to spin in the water, Sean realized he was in a fight for his life. He tried to punch and claw at the alligator's eyes, hoping to free himself, but it was no use. The alligator's grip only tightened, and he could feel his bones breaking. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the alligator released him and disappeared into the depths. Sean was left alone, bleeding and unable to walk. He struggled forward with all his might, stumbling towards the shore as the weight of the water crashed against him. But his nightmare wasn't over yet. The second alligator appeared, biting down on his right arm and tearing it off in the same gruesome fashion as his leg. Despite the immense pain and loss of 2 limbs, Sean's adrenaline and shock kept him conscious. He managed to make it to the shore where he lay bleeding and screaming for help. He lay in the water, struggling to stay afloat as the reptilian predator circled him in a sinister manner. The commotion attracted more alligators, turning the attack into a feeding frenzy. One by one, the animals mauled him, tearing off his limbs until he finally succumbed to his injuries and died. His dismembered body floated on the water, leaving a blood-stained spot on the lake. 4 hours later, a man walking his dog discovered Sean's torso with only one leg attached. His face was unrecognizable due to the extent of his injuries, and it took several hours before his body was identified using dental records. His roommate was notified of the tragic news the next day. This was the first fatal alligator attack in the state since 2019, and the news of his death sent shockwaves across the country. Police investigations revealed lapses in security at the park despite an incident in 2020 where a man was bitten by alligators while retrieving lost items from the lake. The further inquiry uncovered that Sean had been strictly warned not to enter the lake after being discovered by park security a few months prior. Unfortunately, he ignored the warnings and continued to enter the lake, even when the park was closed at night. Experts in reptile behavior assert that his death was the result of a sequence of events. The alligators were in their mating season, making them more territorial and perceiving anything foreign in the water as a potential threat. Additionally, the darkness of night increased the likelihood of encounters with humans, who often came close to the lake shore to enjoy the view. The next day, authorities and trappers were dispatched to the area to locate the alligators responsible for Sean McGinnis' tragic death. 2 of the alligators found swimming close to where Sean's body was retrieved were euthanized and transported to a nearby sanctuary. Authorities hoped to recover Sean's missing limbs from their stomachs to bury them with him, but only a few pieces of bone and cloth were found in their abdomens. Sean's roommate was consumed with regret and blamed himself for his friend's death, having asked him to leave. In response to the tragedy, the Largo Police Department closed down the park for several days and increased security measures around the lake to discourage people from venturing too close. Sean had no family in Florida and had not been in contact with distant relatives for over 8 years. Few mourned his passing, but his death served as a warning against the dangers of getting too close to wild predators and shocked parkgoers into complying with regulations.